So, my dear ones, welcome into this wonderful virtual sanctuary of ours. I hope you're becoming as accustomed to it as I am. And as I like to remind us all, it feels very full to me. This beautiful, wonderful sanctuary feels very full. And that's your presence emanating in it here, and all that other presence over the years that has built up. So welcome to each and every one of you. We really do delight in being in company with you and sharing with you our sojourn as we move through this challenging time that is very unfamiliar and very uncertain in our lives. But nevertheless, we have come to know that we can move through it beautifully when we just take our daily bread, bless our daily bread, give thanks for the gift of a new day, and live in the day we have in great gratitude and that open receptivity to good unfolding, and to build on that attitude throughout our day so that we can live our best days now. You know, we do hear the expression a lot, the rest of my days are the best of my days. And that is true, but you and I have to make them that. And the way we make the rest of our days the best of our days is to bless this present one exactly as we are, in whatever circumstances we are. To bless the day, take the daily bread, whatever it is. If it starts out with crumbs, well and good. If it's a full loaf, terrific. But to take that in your sacred hands as sacred bread and bless it, give thanks for it. And also, no matter how large or how small the daily bread seems to be, it can be multiplied when you and I bless all that it brings to us, the fullness and the plenty that it brings to us, so much so that we have plenty left over to share. And rejoice in your, in your spiritual abundance, because it's always with us, it's always available to us, and it's not just pie in the sky or a wishful thought or any of that we might think, oh, wouldn't it be nice to have that or to experience that. It is nice to experience it, and the time we experience it is right where we are. Now, it reminds me of a story of a Zen monk who's walking out in beautiful nature with one of his young students, and they're walking along very happily on a beautiful nature's path. And the student stops at one point and he says to his teacher, he says, is it possible for us to come into the knowing and into the awareness of how to, relieve ourselves of our burdens? And the monk turns around, and what he does is he just takes the backpack off his back, he's smiling, puts it on the ground. And he looks at the student, expecting him to understand that that's the answer. And then the student says, what we have to do is to separate ourselves from our burdens. And in that way, they will dissipate themselves, and we will be able to be freer in our life and living. And then the monk just smiles. And then the next question comes, but he says, but how is it that we are able to do that? How can we do that? And then smiling, the monk again, saying nothing, picks up the backpack, puts it back on his back, strides ahead, singing and praising the song of the universe as he moves along. And later on that day, when they're in discussion, the young student says, well, I'm not sure that I got the message, but could you tell me what the second part of my question, the answer to that, what was it supposed to be? And he said, well, you start where you are. You begin where you are. If you truly want to lay your burdens down, if you want to step out of your limitations and so on, he said, you start right where you are. So I moved ahead with the pack on my back, And I knew that the way to find separation from what limits me in any way is to sing the praises of life, to be in gratitude, to be thankful, and in everything, praise life, praise the divine, praise all that is good and whole and wholesome. And in that way, it automatically happens that once I stay in that attitude, in that energy of praising and celebrating and appreciating, because I can't celebrate and appreciate unless I'm present to and see and behold, the lifefulness in everything, in everything. And if it is in everything, of course it's in myself as well. And then you remember the scripture revelations of ancient times, enter into the presence, singing and dancing for joy, making a loud noise unto the Lord. And what is the Lord but the law of life? The creative process in you, the creative process in me, the creative process in everything, in everything. In everything. So regardless of where you are today in your feelings, in your thoughts, in all that's going on with you, could you just now pause for a moment and take a break from all of that and do what the ones who reached that state of awareness did? Be still, be quiet, and enter into that fullness that is our true essence, the fullness within us, the life that lives us that is unlimited and vast, the life within us that is always a song of praise, is always a joyful beat, is always a radiating, sparkling, splashing light presence that celebrates life through us, that smiles through us, that loves through us, that sends forth calm through us, that lives itself by means of us and through us. Can you join me now in that quiet, still moment by taking the backpack of the outer life off our backs and laying it down for a moment so that we can be free of all burdenedness and then enter into the joy of life and celebrate the life that we are and celebrate all of life. Why not? So join me now in this amazing, essential moment by taking yourself out of the exterior world, taking a deep, long breath, and feel the radiance and the splashing and sparkling light of Spirit's own energy moving through all that you are. It is your essential essence, and it is mine too, and all of life's. And just let ourselves become light of being by entering into the powerful vortex of energy that I am, that each thing and one is, becoming weightless, light of being, becoming energy itself, and allowing the breath of life to breathe that energy, that life power, that life force, saturating all the I amness of my being, the truth of my being, so that I can be in my lightness, in my brightness, in my wholeness, in my completeness, in my eternal flow, in the divine oceanic heart of that wholeness and completeness and love of being. So I allow myself to be one with the beat of life, one with the breath of life, one with the pulse of life, flowing in the eternal, unlimited, oceanic energy of divine cosmic love, as that love itself, as that life itself, knowing only the unity and the harmony and the oneness of the fullness, the allness and the oneness of the divine life that is all that I am, all that life is, praising, blessing, in gratitude and thankfulness for this moment of truth and this contact with the who of what I am and the what that I am. Breathing the breath I am, flowing as the great I am. Breathing the great I am. I am. And the I am that I am is God life. And that God life is whole life. And that God life is perfect. And that God life is my life, now and evermore shall be. And I awaken it more fully, embrace it more deeply, identify it with it more clearly, and now take it back into the form that I am in the outer world, allowing that form to be filled with that life and light and love and whole energy that it is, so that the form that is to my use on this plane is recovered, restored, made whole again, recognizing itself as infinite intelligence in form, with the ability and the capacity to be the perfect action of life in bodily expression. I praise the body, I raise the body, I bless the body into the whole life that it is. And I see that body as the servant of the sacred and holy creative spirit of life, delighting in its opportunity to be part of the rivers of the flowing givingness of life back onto itself in all of life. And I can indeed feel the nurturing energy of my daily bread in my mind, in my body, in my heart, in my soul, and in the great body of all of my affairs. The fullness, the plenty of divine providence. With so much richness fullness that I am delighting now in sharing from it, from its divine reserves, that never depleting reservoir of good that is always available to me when I can enter in to the true essence of my being. Recognize it, appreciate it, sing its praises, and then take it back into the outer world to share. How blessed is life. How good is life. How awesome is the divine life that lives me. And what I know and recognize in and for myself, I know and I recognize in and for all of life. May all of life, in all of creation, flourish and thrive and be one. Blessed be, and peace upon the earth, and goodwill to and through it in every good way. I send forth this that I know to be true out into the eternal, creative, and most unlimited ocean of life itself, knowing it is already corresponded to, affirmed. The change is being made, the blessing is given, and life is uplifted because of what I have recognized and know as truth. So with deep, deep gratitude, praising the source, in absolute faith I say, the truth has been spoken, heard, responded to, and so it is. And so it is, my dear ones. So it is. Now, this morning, there are so very many things that want to be shared, but there's a short space of time for us to be in each other's company in this way. So I'm limiting all of those beautiful things that were moving through my mind and heart early this morning. And I'm going to share with you one piece that I go to very many times, and pieces like it, from our textbook. And our textbook, of course, is the Science of Mind textbook, written by Dr. Ernest Holmes way back when. And the wisdom contained therein is ever new and always essential for you and for me to know. And this piece is in my book anyway, it's on page 478, and it is under the section called From the Teaching of Jesus. And it is a piece on love. And we always come back to that. And the piece that this is based on is John 13:34. You know, it summed up, love one another as I have loved you. And it reads, love is the central flame of the universe, nay, the very fire itself. I love that, it's powerful, it's strong. It is written that God is love and that we are God's expressed likeness, the image of the eternal being. Love is self-givingness through creation, the impartation of the divine through the human. And then one more paragraph I'll read. It's more than that, but this is what I come to a lot, especially in times like these. The essence of love, while elusive, pervades everything, fires the heart, stimulates the emotions, renews the soul, and proclaims the spirit. Only love knows love, and love knows only love. Words cannot express its depths or meaning. A universal sense alone bears witness to the divine fact that God is love and love is God. Now, I come to pieces like this, and I come to it in many, many ways, not just through readings, but many ways. And I come to them very especially when I'm agitated, when I feel less like wholeness and unity and harmony and oneness. Those very times are the times when I come to remind myself of these things. And I breathe deeply a lot as I'm doing that. And I do feel the change that occurs as a result of it. Because while these are universal spiritual principles, and they are visions, and a vision is always something more than I can accomplish or realize, but I need my visions. I need to have that vision. And I know that my mission then is to support that vision every way I can. And all of us need to aim higher than we'll ever reach, always, because there's no limit to the height that you and I can reach, no limit at all. It's just thinking makes it seem otherwise, that's all. And when I say just thinking, it's not just thinking. Thinking is the most essential and important thing you and I will ever do. And that is why we have to keep stressing the importance of watching your thinking, watching your thoughts, monitoring your mind, seeing what's going on there, especially when you begin to feel low of energy or begin to feel agitated or you begin to feel depleted in energy. Something is draining you. And I can guarantee you it's what's going on in your mind or what has been going on in your mind for an hour or two or three or maybe a week or more. That's what drains us. And so it's important for you and for me to watch that. Now, within us, we know is this sparkling radiance of Spirit's own life available to us all of the time. But most of the time we're unconscious of it. We go unconscious quite a lot. And indeed, some people never really wake up in this lifetime, but that's okay. They have all the time and eternity to wake up. But I think you and I would like to do that in this lifetime, would we not? That's why we spend time like this together and so on. And that is available to you and to me all of the time. But unfortunately, the main block to that happening is our preoccupation with everything else that is unlike that sparkling, radiant light, godly light that is within us, around us, embracing us. We block it out because of our preoccupation with everything unlike it. All the trials, the tribulations, the worries, and so on and so forth. And this morning, keep running through my mind was a line from Herbert Spencer that I read a long time ago. And he's talking about there is a principle in life that blocks us ever touching that. And he calls that principle the principle of condemnation without investigation. That's what he calls it. And I think if you and I were to look at that, that principle plays part in your life and mine all too often, even be it unconscious. We're so quick to rush to judgment about everything and anyone, without investigation, without information, without research. Isn't that strange when you think about it? We just let any old thing flow into our ears and pick it up and run with it as though it were absolutely true, without that investigation, research, and information behind it. Well, I can tell you, have you noticed these days, we're having plenty of opportunity to investigate, research, and make sure before we make any pronouncements within us or verbally that we have done due diligence in this department. More and more, I see people around me, people I know, able to have uncomfortable conversations that were never broached before. And the investigation and the research and the information I'm talking about is not out there. This investigation, this research, this information has to be found within here. I have to investigate myself, research myself, inform myself of anything that I may have been judging, concluding, condemning without research, investigation, and information. That may in some way have shaped my ideas, shaped my values, shaped what I have come to believe as true. And I have to dig deep. And I have to be uncomfortable with myself in conversation. And I have to take out the microscope and take a deep look and see how could I personally have contributed to all of the unrest that is going on in the world today. And I'm not picking out any one thing in particular. I'm looking at the whole shebang. All the troubles, the trials and the tribulations out there. What is my part to be played in all of that? How have I influenced all of that? Because I have. Why? Because there is a raised conscious mind. There is a collective consciousness into which each and every one of us thinks, into which each and every one of us feels. And that shapes the global temperament and the global mentality. So I cannot sit back, pure as the driven snow, and say, well, I didn't have anything to do with that. What's that got to do with me? Of course I have. We all have. If I've ever had an angry thought, if I've ever been hasty to judge, if I have been hasty to condemn, if I have been hasty to draw conclusions based on no investigation, no research, no real information, then yes, I have contributed, and mea culpa. So you and I, if we truly are committed, truth students, individuals that want to unfold spiritually, we need to be in that kind of conversation with ourselves so that we can enter calmly and quietly into conversation with others. And when I say into conversation, I would say that many of us, a great majority of us, need that conversation that we're having to be a presence. I show up as a presence willing to listen. Listen to the dialogue that's going on amongst all the troubled and aggrieved groups of people out there in our world, and there are many. I need to let them give me the research I need, the investigation I need, and the information I need so that I can check that out with regard to my own belief and value system and maybe draw newer conclusions as a result of that. See, I don't know about you, but I have discovered that in most conversations, most people are not listening in conversations. They are forming their answers to what they think are the questions that are arising. They're not listening to the conversation out there. They're listening to the conversation in their own minds and forming conclusions and coming up with answers without even having heard. Isn't that fascinating? Now, I'm asking us all, for the rest of this week at least, to keep examining ourselves in that regard when we're in conversation with anybody, whether it's on the phone, whether we're texting, whatever it is. To just be quiet, be still, and listen. before forming any response. And I will guarantee each and every one of us that our responses will be very different to the times when we didn't listen and were just forming our questions. And that way, you and I will be able to wake up a little bit more, to become a little bit more self-aware and other-aware, to become a little wiser, to become a little kinder, to become a little more understanding, and a little more love-filled. I will guarantee that, provided we can all listen in a sense of presence and open receptivity to the truth being revealed. That is what has been preoccupying me for several weeks now. And of course, the main work is upon myself. I have no right, nor would I desire to ask anybody to do anything I'm not willing and prepared to do myself. The whole idea is to be true to oneself, to thine own self be true. That means be real. To be real is to stop making up stories and stop, putting on the mask and stop pretending to be something that I'm not feeling, that I'm not thinking, that I'm not believing. Don't you think? Don't you think it's time that we all just step back a little bit from looking into everybody else's mirror and looked a little bit more deeply and fully into our own mirror, into what's looking back at us from what we're looking into in a mirror? Don't you think it's time? I do. And I think the time is very ripe for this now. So I think the calling is pay attention. Pay attention. Be awake, be alert, be mindful. And we have gone the other opposite. We've gone to the other extreme, where none of that in the majority of people who are well off enough to have all these gadgets that preoccupy us, that cause us, even when we're in company on special occasions, be they anniversaries or birthdays or whatever, we cannot detach ourselves from our phones. What the hey is that all about? I don't want to be in a conversation with somebody who's all the time looking at their phone, indicating to me, this is far more important than what's going on between you and me right now. I get the message, I understand. Oh, we have traveled far away from being present to each other. And make no mistake about it, and don't kid yourself about this. We are addicted to gadgetry. Addicted. It's like a fix. My God, where's my phone? Where's my phone? Oh, do you mind? I have to take this one. Do you mind? I have to take this. Yes, I mind. I mind. Because when I'm going to be meeting with somebody, I'm not going to be bringing my phone with me and making my phone more important than your presence. How do you think we're going to change if we're not present to anything? If our mind is not fully on what needs to be done, what I need to hear, what I need to perceive, what I need to be aware of and present to. As I've shared before, I'm up in LA. I'm on a side street. I'm coming up to enter into a major street. And one woman just steps out, a young woman steps off the step right in front of my moving car in her direction, buried in her phone, and then I tap the horn very gently to remind her she's in danger. She puts the phone down, she looks at me and she goes, "Sorry, lady, I was just trying to save your life." That's the society we're living in here. So what can be done? Nothing if you and I don't do something about it, nothing. They're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. Them's not going to do it. It has to be done by you, and it has to be done by me, and it has to be done now. Isn't it wonderful to be that awake, to know this, to realize this? I'm so happy to be in your company, because here you are, you're listening in on a Wednesday morning. There are a million things you could be doing. And it's a beauty and a grace for me to be in such awakened company. I often say to myself, well, thank God you're this much awake. You have a long way to go, but at least you're this much awake. And that's a good thing. And it's a great good start. And remember, we're all tending the garden of our minds. We're all tending this beautiful, amazing, wonderful, super creative soil in the garden of our minds. And you and I can grow any good thing in there, and it's going to grow beautifully for us. That's why we have to be very careful of the seeds we sow, because they will grow and they will come to harvest. So you and I have to make sure that those seeds of ideas, those thought ideas, those visionings, those imaginings, those feelings of an idea are true and solid and good and wholesome and of good report and of all things lovely, as Scripture says. So that what we're growing in the garden of our global life together and in all of creation is a very fine and good harvest, one that everybody can partake of, enjoy, and celebrate from its fullness and its plenty and its very tender, loving gardener that grew it. How sweet that is. How wonderful an idea and a thought that is. And you have the power to do that. The power is effervescent, ever flooding, ever flowing, ever available to your creative mind, and mine too. Awaits all that good that you and I could think and feel into it, so it can bring it into being. And multiply it so it can spread like a beautiful field of wildflowers. Have you ever been on top of a mountainside and been in a mountain meadow of glorious, wild, natural flowers? Bees and butterflies and critters. It is a delight. Your mind is just like that, or could be. So I'm leaving you with these good thoughts today, and I'm inviting everybody to not back away from uncomfortable conversation, provided you're willing to just listen and learn and be changed as a result of what you hear, so that you can say, I have done my investigating and my research, and I am making adjustments as a consequence. How sweet it is. Now, that's your power, my power, and that's how you and I can change the world. One changing mind, one changing heart at a time. No other way, no better way, and that's for certain sure. So we will close the way we usually close, and that is we celebrate our fullness and we celebrate our plenty. And I'm going to get mine to share now, and I would ask you to join me in taking something from your daily bread and blessing it and multiplying it for those who receive it and for yourself, because that's how it works. So we celebrate and are grateful for our enoughness. We have enough so that we can share from our enoughness, which is such an amazing blessing. And we don't take it for granted. And so we take our gift between our blessing hands. Blessing always, hands are for blessing and only for blessing. And we say, divine love consecrates my gift. It goes forth to heal, to bless, to prosper all those who give and all those who receive. I rejoice in the sharing of my good, and I release my gift with love. And so it is. And I'm releasing you and myself and all of life into the remainder of a great, blessed, good, wonderful day, full of expected and unexpected good. So get giddy with delight with regard to the unexpected good. It always puts a smile on the face and a hop and a skip and a jump in the feet. You'll see from the practice of it. And so thank you again for being here with us in our beautiful virtual community and this wonderful sanctuary. And remember that you've made a difference because of us being in community or communion together today. And that difference will be felt, and it will raise the energy on our beautiful planet. So until we meet again, stay tuned in. We're trusting that you tune in to the Wednesday morning, the Sunday morning, and all the various and sundry messages throughout the week into Tea and Chat. More of us could come to Tea and Chat, of course. It's always a wonderful time to get together. And of course, class, and then there's the circles of prayer, and there's the book club, and so on and so forth. Always with you in mind. So, know who you are and what you are, and be all of it, and stay in the moment, and stay present. Own your feelings when they come. Allow them to express themselves through you. Don't over-identify with the negative ones, because they're not who you are. It's just a cloud passing over you and out from you. And the good light clouds, the beautiful fluffy white ones, are just all ganging up, waiting to hover over your head. That's what's going on. So know that you are awesome, a point of light and a point of power through which the infinite expresses itself when you allow it in all of its radiant magnificence, and that's the truth. And so it is. Until we meet again, be in joy and be yourself, your best self. And so it is. See you soon.